One will now file an affidavit to show that this was served, and that they signed for it. Nothing came out of it. A Lagos State High Court judge.
Wow.
Now, some of them, like I said, are afraid of senior advocates or senior lawyers. Some have certain other relationships. And that's why I told you that you can't give what you don't have. There was a time we had judges.
In other words, sorry to cut you. In other words, what the CJN is set out to do now is
commendable. Very commendable.
But why is it that some of your own colleagues have actually taken to the papers and to the media to actually also criticize?
There are two aspects of that. One is that there's a chance that there'll be some witch hunting. Now, some people who benefit from the rot. You see, there are some senior advocates that are thugs. They have no business being lawyers, not talking about being senior advocates of Nigeria. I respect, there are a whole lot of them I respect, who are sound, who conduct themselves in decorum. But there are others, there are a few of them, who have no business being lawyers, not to talk about being senior advocates. In fact, there's one, when you're in court with him, you think you're in court with a thug. I mean, an agbero. Now, some of these people are extremely wealthy too. And wealth, more often than not, goes with power. So, when you're benefiting from the rot in the system, you don't want that system to change. Some judges also end up playing into the hands of some of these rotten eggs. Because you might have been doing some things, and you do a correct thing, a right thing, but because you had already soiled your hands in other things, they bring up that and use it to now mess you up. For instance, private lawyers prosecute for government agencies. Even I do that. But there are times you don't even have to be a lawyer to see that this lawyer has deliberately messed up this prosecution. And what would that be? What would that be? And this is a sound lawyer ordinarily. I mean, you've watched him over the years, you've read his submissions and all that. All of a sudden, he or they mess up a prosecution. You may not have proof of wrongdoing, but that raises some questions. So, people will, whenever I want to do a good thing, you have people who will come and oppose you. I don't know the people who are opposing CJN's move, but I can tell you, I've never even appeared before her. So I don't know her, except that she's my CJ. People will oppose her, but what she's undertaking to do is an excellent thing. We need to purge the judiciary. You know,
it's very, very important because Chamberlain tried highlighting the importance of that. If you also link it to what has happened, I want to go back to the Iranian case because in other crimes, in fact, it's a grave offense, but it seems to us the judiciary doesn't seem to understand how grave such is. And to have even done that retrospectively is something people don't even understand. If you had said perhaps 5 years in jail, and they say, well, as your lordship please. But even as your lordship please, what about the good of the nation, the good for us as a people? We thought the law is for the good for all.
That's important. That's what it's supposed to be. Like I said, a situation where you have judges who, I don't want to appear very insolent because some of them are excellent. But you have some judges who can barely appreciate the import of the law, who can barely appreciate even the language of the law. Not talk about appreciating English language itself. Because you listen to some judges in court and you're wondering, our means of communication is English. Of course, you have some Latin here and there, but the vehicle is English language. But you listen to some judges and you wonder, who are these people? Now, somebody who cannot appreciate fully without which you have written, how do you expect him to now reason and be creative as a pool, try to extend without actually breaking the law? Because when you are not an automaton. You look at the words. How do I apply these words to this situation? That's the law. How do I apply it to this situation? And get the best, the maximum out of it. Even though he says this, just like the other one who paid a fine. So the judge said paid a fine when there are other alternatives. You go for the maximum because this is a very serious thing. Somebody is importing arms to overturn, to take over. Because nobody is for now. Either take over the government or encourage armed robbery or kidnapping or whatever. He's not supplying to the Nigerian Army or Nigerian Navy or Nigerian Air Force. And all he could do was just say 5 years. And even in the 5 years, I think they said the ones. So the ones you have served, the ones you have detention for.
Have about 2.5 years or
so
2.5 years.
Even if the law says 5 years, what he would have done is 5 years from today, at the very least. If you couldn't even stretch the other
discretion.
If the law, if it says 5 years, the other one was he in prison?
No,
he was not in prison. He was being prosecuted. He was found guilty on a certain day. Let us say today the 15th. So effective from today the 15th. Why do you have to say the 2.5 years or the 4 years of sentence?
And that's a big discouragement to the security operatives, because if truly at the end of the day they try to get some of these criminals and bring them before a judge, and at the end of the day they've been found guilty and they get that kind of a sentence, and it doesn't really encourage any one of them.
I agree with you to discourage. I mean, you have put your life on the line. You manage to apprehend this person. The person is okay. Even the system finds the person guilty. Yet, the man on top of the system, top of the system, now says, "Your sins are forgiven. Go."
Well, I see Hassan Titila here says, "Look, the time has come for everybody to be patriotic. Let's join hands with the federal government to prevent this country from slipping into full-blown war." She supports the state of emergency. But looking at that declaration, how far do you see that going as a deterrent for other states or other groups who may be harboring such notion of striking a state?
Even from the little that the president told us, houses can be brought down. Villages can be mowed down.
Within the rules of engagement, though.
Well, those rules, these rules are very fluid and flexible. Because the man right there, in the thick of it, in the thick of the battle, will determine whether he's in danger and react. Oh, you're supposed to say hands up. But if I'm there and this is my point of gun, I'm not telling you hands up when I point a gun. I'm shooting. So the people on the ground there will take the decision and implement. So anything can happen. Now, what actually the president has done is, look, this has gone on for too long. I will no longer tolerate it. I'm taking care of it. He gives instructions, the military boys will go and do their job. So if anybody now thinks he can dare them, well, that's the person's own problem. Human rights people can come later to come and start making their noise, but meanwhile, we need to secure this nation. And talking about everybody, all has been on deck. Some people, I criticize the government, you know that very well. I criticize the government. I don't tolerate some of the excesses and some of their. However, where the government does something right, you commend them, you compliment them. Nigerians are generally irresponsible.
Generally?
Yes.
Well, that's
it's seven.
That's objective, isn't it?
Well, okay, that's my opinion. That the Nigerians are generally irresponsible. Oh, government. Who is government? Yesterday or so, you were asking somebody a question, and the person said that it is the government. And this is a lecturer in the university, PhD holder, teaching history. Only brilliant people are supposed to study history, because history is what they use to shape the nations. Telling you that where, like Femi Falana said the previous day, that you convict somebody, and between the prosecutor, the defense lawyer, some court officials, and the prison authorities, the man or woman goes back to his house or her house, doesn't go to prison. And when he asked the man, okay, is that the federal government's fault? He said, well, yes. I couldn't believe my ears.
Well, that's his opinion.
No, what I'm saying is that's Nigeria for you. Government should, because we talked about the fuel subsidy, everything is government's fault.
But it's not exactly Nigeria, because, I mean, look at what he says. You disagree. So you have people like that in every society. So it will always be that way. But that doesn't mean it's everybody else. I'm talking about somebody who molds and shapes young people, young minds. Okay. All right. Well, we'll definitely continue this discussion in the days ahead. But we have to thank you for coming on. Kenneth Odidika is a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much.